Sure, some of you are thinking, why? Why should we care about this topic, and what gaps are you talking about? And how can I make a difference? How can I fill the gap? Hopefully that's what you're thinking. So in this webinar, I'll answer the why, where, and how questions at a high level, of course, and sprinkle in my own experience, which I can share from multiple perspectives. As you heard from Jessica, before I was an executive at Primavera Systems and responsible for strategy, obviously I was a team member at some point in my career, and I was also a project manager, product manager, and a department manager. So I have different perspectives on this topic. I've been on the development end of this and at the receiving end of strategy. I have lived through the results of an organization when we had big gaps and when we embarked on our own portfolio management maturity to close those gaps. That was a journey that took several years, of course, but I hope that by sharing some of my learnings with you, that I can make it a little less painful for you. Was for us. So start with the why question. If I can. Okay. Why should each of us care about this topic, about bridging the gap between portfolio and execution, in project execution? Well, I would say that it's because we all want to be part of a successful organization. It's really that simple. And what makes organizations successful is bringing their vision and mission to life through the work that they accomplish as part of projects or operations. Organization's success is dependent on how well they execute projects and investments, which are aligned with their strategic goals. Yet, according to a study by the Economist Intelligence Unit, majority of CEOs admitted that their organizations struggle to bridge the strategy to execution gap. So put another way, what they're saying is their organizations would be more successful if only their execution delivered on their strategic goals. And that is what the handshake between portfolio management and project management is supposed to do. So there's a problem in there somewhere. Another study by the Aberdeen Group cited these metrics on the screen that you see, which are like, well, I don't have the exact numbers up there, but those bullets. I really like that. That's what they use to classify whether an organization is best in class. And they categorize these organizations as having very small variances between actual and forecasted revenue, which is huge. This is immensely important, especially for public companies, to be able to deliver on their forecast. You know, when they don't deliver on their forecast, their stock prices decline. And when they do better than their forecast, that's when the stock prices increase. And by the way, when the study said very small, they were saying less than 5% variance compared to average companies that may experience 12%, anywhere from 12% to 39% variance, which is huge. Again, these best-in-class organizations also experience very small variances between their actual costs and their budgeted costs, and this is the project management piece. This is an important measure because it's money that can be invested elsewhere to pay for additional strategic investments or projects for that organization. If you want your organization to be among the most successful companies, or best in class, as they called it in the study, you need to care about not just executing projects within budget, so that there's small variances, but you need to be mindful of the higher level project benefits. What's the project supposed to deliver? What benefits? Project benefits can be anything that's important to the organization, such as increased revenue, increased cost savings, bigger market share, just to name a few examples. You also need to have timely management information to make the best decisions as part of this best-in-class organization. We'll brief about when and how these forecasts and budgets are set and the information are needed to make good management decisions. That takes a discussion of portfolio management processes and project management processes. Now, in order to talk about the gap, level set by showing you what I think are typical processes in portfolio and project management. This will take time to explain, so please bear with me on the explanations. And then when we get to the gaps, it'll be, hopefully, the gaps will be very obvious by then. What's the high-level strategic portfolio planning process? Portfolio management is often said to be about making sure that you'll be doing the right things, whereas project management is about doing those things right. So that's how I remember the two, the differences. Do the right things and do things right. So let's talk about doing the right things. It's often is referred to by many articles papers that you've read about making sure projects are aligned to strategy. For a project team member, sometimes that's pretty nebulous. What does that mean, aligned to strategy? Aren't all projects good? Aren't all projects delivering on strategic goals? That's something that is a communication issue typically between the people who set strategy and the people who are on project teams if there's a disconnect. Let me not get ahead of myself. Another way to think about the difference between the portfolio processes and the project processes is that portfolio management is mostly about what objectives the organization wants to achieve, yet project management is about how well you execute to meet those objectives. So it's like there's a difference between what you're trying to accomplish and then how well you accomplish it. The picture you see here highlights some of the key processes defined in the Standard for Portfolio Management, 3rd edition, published by PMI. Over here, although I'm using my own words, roughly equate to what the standard calls defining processes, aligning processes, and authorizing and controlling processes. These processes are to make sure that we're doing the right things, and they're roughly done in this order that I have, and it's shown in the red dotted line. I purposefully didn't make it a clean, straight line because in reality, some of these processes can be done concurrently and iteratively and can be a little convoluted. Roughly say this is the process that typical companies would like to follow. The process starts with identifying strategic goals of the organization in the first hexagon you see up there. Typically, these goals are coming from the very top down of the organization. And the goals are items like increased revenue or profitability for the organization. These goals, the revenue goals and profitability goals, can be expressed in terms of maybe a return on investment or net present value or increased share prices or some other currency measure. The organization also has other goals like increased market share or increase new customer acquisitions or retain more customers or maintain customers as some of their customer retention goals. And at the same time, maybe another one of their goals is to comply with some industry regulations or be, first to market in something goals. Those are very typical goals. And it's very typical to have more than one goal.